Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Wei Koh. And now over to you, Tracy. She hates it when I do that, but okay. So I want to talk about Hublot today, and we've got some other really cool people to join in the intellectual discourse that we're going to have. From my perspective, Hublot is interesting because it's a pioneer in three different pillars, right? And I would say pillar number one is in terms of collaborations and marketing, right? And marketing is not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you're bridging to other universes. I think what you've done with the artist, for example, Daniel Arsham, before him Takashi Murakami, is incredibly engaging and different and explores other universes. It's so important to keep our métier evolving, right? The second thing is, of course, in terms of material innovation, I think Hublot is the only company in the world that has a gold that is 1,000 Vickers hardness, and I don't think you can even, you tried scratching it, right? What did you use? A drill bit. You used a drill bit and couldn't scratch it. And you're gonna see like that it's so interesting because like the people who created that material realized that ceramic is porous. And what would happen if you actually filled all the pores with gold? But actually you measure gold in terms of mass. Right? So actually, in terms of mass, it's 75% gold, but it's also ceramic. It's really interesting. And then, of course, there is watchmaking, which has been a little bit under the radar, but actually exists in an extremely profound way. So before we get into my dear friend Roman Sharf, I want to introduce another incredibly cool guy. He is the CEO of Hublot. His name is Julien Tornard. So, Julien, tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy. Where do you come from, and what do you love about Hublot?
Well, my name is Julien Tornard. I know many of you in the room, but I will quickly introduce myself. I'm Swiss, born and raised in Geneva, which is kind of an important city for watchmaking. And I've been in the industry for 28 years, working for different brands, working here in New York for 5 years, running Vacheron Constantin for the Americas. Then I went to Hong Kong, running also Vacheron Constantin for all Asia Pacific. And then I was hired by a big guy of the industry, Jean-Claude Biver, who asked me to join him and help him on the brand Zenith, for which I worked for 6.5 years, back in Switzerland, of course. And Hublot is a brand that's always been absolutely amazing for me because having talked about these two brands, I come from a more, how can I say, purist approach of watchmaking between Vacheron and Zenith, long history, long heritage. And back in the days of Mr. Croco, but especially since 2005, I could observe and keep an eye on this alien brand called Hublot coming, shaking the whole conservative Swiss watch industry that I know well, and bringing totally new things in all aspects of watchmaking. So I've always said it's a brand that continues to build systematically the future of watchmaking. And now that I'm on the second part of my career, I'm 53 years old. It's the first time I'm working for a brand, and I'm actually older than the brand because Hublot is only 45. So now the brand is going to keep me young for the years to come, and I'm super happy to take this journey.
One of the most incredible things about Julien is, so you spent many formative years in Vacheron Constantin. When you leave Richemont Group, normally people are not allowed to talk to you. Right? No, I'm sorry, it's true. And people from Richemont still love him. They still visit him. It just goes to show you the impact that he's had. And he had an immense background in horology. Then he went to an incredible pioneer in chronograph movements as well as Zenith. So this man knows watchmaking, right? But now it's time to turn the floor over to another guy that knows watchmaking very well also. But he has, I think it's a public service announcement. Am I correct, sir? Okay, let's go.
People love to say Hublot is absolute. Let's add some small print to that, with zero substance behind it. Simply jumping on a bandwagon of what they see and hear on social. Let me correct you just a little bit there. Not widely using ETA or Sellita, but mainly used to use those movements. Some of the most impressive innovation, dare I say, Hublot started the same way the majority of brands started, with an off-the-shelf movement with the ultimate goal to create their own. Like the Unico, the Mecca, the Micro Rotor 6035, the 6011, the most impressive MP movements that brought forth some of the most impressive innovation, dare I say. So let me make a bold statement here. ETA, Sellita, Valjoux are not cheap movements. It's not the cost to the manufacturer that actually defines the quality, but the actual quality of the movement. All of these are workhorse movements, I like to call them, on which respective companies spend years in research and development to make sure one simple thing, and that is that they will work and will last. For a long time, companies relied on movement manufacturers for their movements until we saw a trend for in-house movement. Personal opinion, I think it was the Longa Datograph that launched in '99 that was the first fully in-house chronograph movement developed from scratch by any major brand in decades, while nearly all other Swiss high-end chronographs were still based on Lemania 2310. And remember the dates, how long it took them to get to that point, just if we count from 1999. Do you know why it's such a big feat? It's because developing a chronograph is one of the hardest things to do in horology, and you can ask any manufacturer about that. Patek is 186 years old, Vacheron is 270 years old, AP 150, Rolex 120, Hublot post-MDM, 20 years old. So please don't call the Unico a pretty good movement. The Unico is a monster. It's a groundbreaking performance chronograph caliber with 2 independent clutches. One for the minutes driven directly off the barrel and both using innovative Liga T to reduce play and friction. It is a microfabrication technique originally developed for the semiconductor industry. So let's just say precision at its finest. And by the way, I was in the business when the Big Bang took the world by storm. Fun fact, you could not give away a Royal Oak or an overseas at that time. Everybody wanted a Hublot. These are not just cool cases of paint jobs. This takes years of engineering and innovation. And surprise, that costs time and money. Ceramics, carbon, king, magic golds, in-house production of sapphire. It's also worth mentioning they just developed a multicolor ceramic case that no other brand can even produce. Most of the higher priced items, they all come with complete in-house horology. Yes, Omega did put the first watch on the moon. Yes, Cartier did make the first men's wristwatch. The first wristwatch was actually a ladies' brigade known as the Queen of Naples. But this was all done way before Hublot times. Meanwhile, in a short 20 years, Hublot did manage to do a few other things besides the things I already mentioned, like being the first luxury watch brand to be FIFA's official timekeeper. First full-scale collaboration with Ferrari, leading to the Tech Frame, which is the first Ferrari-designed watch ever. The Mecha 10, first in-house 10-day power reserve movement with the rack and pinion style indicator. The first watch case made out of Saxum, sapphire aluminum oxide. But the point is, they have not been around like other companies for hundreds of years. And guess what? Who knows what they would have accomplished had they been. What they did in 20 years sure seems to me like a good start to building a heritage. You know, there's also a time where people had a lot of negative things to say about Gerald Genta and the design of the Royal Oak. Yet 50 years later, he's considered an icon, and the Royal Oak, a timeless, iconic design. Names like Jean-Claude Biver, Ricardo Guadalupe will be referred to in the future, just the same, probably long after we're gone. This is not even an argument. Just because we went through a COVID craze, which resulted in certain brands, more specifically certain models within a brand, selling over MSRP, does not make them better watches than others. When I'm in Bar Harbor Mall and I walk out by my favorite brand's boutique, Audemars Piguet, there's nothing available for sale. Yet when you get to the Hublot boutique in the same mall, people are inside buying watches, walking out with bags, because Hublot chooses to have products available rather than going the wait list route. Somewhere during the COVID craze, it became trendy, again, there's that word, to show watch indexes and the rise of pricing and dubbing watches as an investment, which turned into a buying frenzy. Well, ask a client today that paid $60K for a steel Daytona if it was a good investment. This brings me to what I've always been saying. A watch is not an investment, but an expensive toy. Buy what you like first and foremost within the means you can afford.
Roman Sharf. Roman, thank you so much for that rant, brother. It was extremely informative. You recently visited Hublot's manufacturer. What were some key takeaways for you?
So I kind of knew what to expect. My first expectation was ultra modern, high technology place in general, right? What I was most impressed with is the lab. When I went into the lab and you physically get to see the amount of effort, research and development that goes into materials alone when I went into the material lab. When I saw that big piece of crystals that you guys grow, I'm like, I kind of want that for my office. But what impressed me the most is that what I expected is exactly what I got. Number one, it was a very warm welcome. I walked into a manufacturer for the first time. Within 20, 30 minutes of my visit, I got to meet the CEO of the company. It was very welcoming. I got to talk to the new head of marketing. I got to talk to the actual people. Because for me, it comes down to the people behind anything, whatever it might be. And it starts with good people. I mean, what you did for Zenith in the last 6.5 years, I'm not going to go back further into your industry, but I think what you've done for Zenith, which is a wonderful brand, the first thing I told you when we met was like, just a little bit of that into Hublot and sky's the limit. But mostly it was about the people and it was about innovation and technology. It's a high-tech place. You walk in there and you're like, oh my God, this is really a lab. But at the same token, you guys didn't lose side of old school horology, right? It's still there. And again, while Hublot is 45 years old, I count back from, rebranding from MDM to Hublot. So to me, it's still a 20-year-old brand. It's around where I started in the industry, and I remember the Big Bang taking the industry by storm. Everybody won one. And again, because you guys dared to be different, and nothing has changed. One thing that stuck with me is at Watches and Wonders, I had a conversation with you, and I said, do you see yourself going the route of perhaps taking all that wonderful technology, the wonderful movements that you've created, and put it into a case that's more dressy, more of a suit watch, where you can show off the horology and the attention will be on the horology? And your answer to me was, Big Bang is in our DNA, and we're going to stick with it, and I respect that.
Thank you very much. Julian, Roman mentioned human beings. And one of the extraordinary resources that you have is a gentleman named Matthias Butte, right? Matthias Butte was actually one of the key guys at Frank Mueller who created the Revolution 1, Revolution 2, Revolution 3, tourbillons. He was a key guy in creating crazy hours as well. And he actually was one of the pioneers in complicated watchmaking through the early 2000s. It's actually funny to me because I'm sure a lot of you guys love Recep Recep'i and Akrivia. If you look at the AK-01, that movement is actually a B&B movement because Recep was working at B&B at the time. It's actually the same movement that you can buy today in a tourbillon chronograph from Hublot. But why do you think it is, despite doing the MPO5 with 50 days of power reserve, the MPO7 with 40 days of power reserve and digital indications, the MP10 with linear mass for automatic winding, and the Mecha 10 and the Unico, that people perceive Hublot as being a fashion brand?
Thank you for mentioning Matthias, first of all, because Matthias is an incredible person. If you haven't met him, I really invite you to visit us because he's, for me, the kind of... the professor, the white blues effect, the nutty professor, the Doc Emmett Brown in Back to the Future, this kind of thing. He's our genius. And this guy has had such an important place in the company, and believe me, we're building a new manufacturer that will be open in a few months. He will be in the center of it with his sapphire thing and everything, because this is what we love to see when we visit Hublot, next to watchmaking and other things. No, but probably I think, Hublot changed the world of watchmaking in many ways. And again, I just arrived, so I give full credit to my predecessors. But in 2005, when Jean-Claude is relaunching Hublot with the Big Bang, of course, Mr. Croco before, he also launched He also launched the classic fusion where he mixed rubber with gold, which was back in the days a revolution in itself. But Jean-Claude put it to a different level. Jean-Claude Biver really reinvented marketing in a very conservative watch industry where basically beside ad campaign and a couple of events with champagne and foie gras, and that was it, that was watchmaking events back in the days. Talking about materials, beyond steel, gold, platinum, I think that's about it. And he was the one daring to bring new materials like sapphire, like ceramic. And you mentioned it, we do our own sapphire, we do our ceramic, we do multicolor ceramic, vivid color ceramic, so many things that nobody else is able to do in-house. Some brands moved into our footsteps by using these materials after, but Jean-Claude and Matthias Butte and the team, they created that. And because of these two incredible engines, occupied fully the space of Hublot, innovative marketing, disruptive marketing, etc., and creativity and innovation in design, in watches, but in general, but also in new materials, basically the watchmaking expertise was a bit hidden behind those two. And people did not realize that within such a short amount of time, there have been incredible developments within this brand. And you mentioned all of them in a great way. But I was myself exactly the same. I was so surprised. I expected to come into the brand and see pictures of all the celebrities and Maradona and Pelé and Depeche Mode and all those guys. I saw those pictures. Yes, they are there. But what I saw in the watchmaking workshops made me really literally blown away. And I was so excited about that because that's what I like. So I think it's time now because to talk more about watches, to talk more about the technicity, and to get, I can say that, more respect in terms of watchmaker. Because first, we are an incredible watchmaker, and it's only the beginning because we have plenty of projects.
Roman, I have 18th century fatigue. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? It's funny because I was talking to Max Buser. I just did a TV episode, a series called Man of the Hour. And at the end of it, Max is talking about in the early 2000s, all these pioneers, including Mr. Beaver and Max, were trying to create a new language for horology. And he said that it would really surprise me if you told me 20 years later, we created rock and roll and everyone went back to playing the harpsichord. But that's kind of what we have now. We're in the midst of this moment where everyone's looking glowingly back at the 18th century. But Hublot is boldly pushing forward and creating that evolution of watchmaking for the future. Why is that necessary to you?
It's a breath of fresh air as far as I'm concerned. Right now, and not now, for years and years and years, every single brand, what do? They follow trends. You go across a multitude of brands from different groups, a lot of them seemingly look the same. Right now, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon of that fine watchmaking, those hand finishes. You have these small independents that produce a tiny number of watches, and all of a sudden everybody's going crazy over them. They want to pay double the retail value just to have it because they become unobtainium. Nobody ever takes the time to take a watch and break it down and say, hey, here's the outside, what's on the inside? And this is, Julien just said it right. We need to really look on the inside, take the design out, take everything out, look at the guts of the watch. Because just now, actually, my friend Jan, who's here somewhere, he asked me about a brand. I won't mention any name. And he goes to me, he's like, what do you think of this brand? You kind of didn't really take well to it. And I won't mention the brand name. And I said, you know what? I don't really have enough experience with it. I haven't touched it. I haven't put it on the client's wrist. I haven't seen it work. I haven't seen it in action. With Hublot, in 20 years, I have seen the watches in action. I know how durable they may be. I know how well they wear. But going back to the trends of the industry where everybody else follows suit, how many rainbow pieces have we seen throughout the entire industry? How many pieces have we seen that look similar to the Royal Oak? And now let's ask a question, how many pieces or brands out there are now looking similar to the Big Bang? And if you look at all of that and you realize that it's all about trends, and you look at a brand that sticks with their own DNA, that's only been around for such a short amount of time, me personally, when I look at a watch, the fact that a watch trades at 5x its retail value is not impressive to me. What's impressive to me, what a brand is able to achieve in a short amount of time. You mentioned Recep. I remember a time where I couldn't give away an Accurvia 8K6 for $40,000. We sold one for $700,000. Is it because it's that much better? No, because you can't get it, right? And here's another thing. Everybody knows that formula. Your old friend Francois started it. Actually, your old friend Francois started that, where he started cutting out dealers, cutting down production, going the boutique route and making things unobtainium. And what I mentioned when I said about the Bal Harbour Mall, which I frequent, I walk by your boutique, and every time I walk by, I see 2 or 3 people inside and people walking out with bags. Everybody can go down obtainium route. This formula is very simple. You choose not to do that. You make your watches available. Let the world have them. And I love that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point also. You know, it's also true that there are certain things that are just part of a trend, right? And it's interesting too because the world becomes enamored with these things. Recep I look at as a pioneer of the guy that really brought back this idea of regressing to pre-industrial times and trying to do everything by hand and obviously doing lavish amounts of hand finishing. It now has become super trendy to have an extremely hand-finished watch. And what's the thing that they show you how hand-finished it is? Look, I have inner angles. They can only be done by hand. How do you create inner angles? Anyone? You take 100 Swiss francs and you pay it to someone for 1 hour and they get an inner angle, right? Correct?
Not so expensive.
Not so, well, he's got connections, I don't, right? So that's true. I mean, you can basically, the way that you get hand finishing is you just pay someone to do it. But it's very different to create horology with meaning. Now, you're wearing a really interesting watch on your wrist. Hublot was a pioneer in colored ceramic, right? And colored ceramic was not able to be achieved because during the sintering process, which is when you heat it, right, the pigments would degrade. So how did they go about finding a way to create colored ceramic? They realized that you could add pressure to the process and do it at a lower heat, right? And by adding pressure and doing it at a lower heat, they actually increased the Vickers hardness of ceramic from 1,200 Vickers hardness to 1,500 Vickers hardness. And that, to me, is fundamental achievement in pushing forward the story of horology. You know, for you, Julien, now that you're at this brand, how important is it for you to be a pioneer now in innovation and to be known for this again?
It's the DNA of Hublot. You know, I always say if Hublot becomes too normal, Hublot is not going to be successful. We have to create new things. We have to make, you know, this industry move forward. I had a discussion recently with a friend of mine, he's from Geneva as well, Thierry Stern. okay, owner of Patek Philippe, super nice person. We both from Geneva, more or less the same age. And he was telling me, your mission is to continue to innovate and create. Patek Philippe is a conservative brand, very institutional, very serious, with a very long heritage and history. So they have to capitalize on that. But a brand like Hublot is here to shake the industry and continue to show that we are evolving. How can we keep younger generation interested into watchmaking? We all know we got scared by the quartz revolution back in the 70s. We all know we got scared more recently with connected watches. We're still here, and we're stronger and stronger. But it's also thanks to brands that are shaking the tree, that are really moving forward. And I think that's the mission of Hublot. So I don't see the future of Hublot. I don't see my future at Hublot without coming with new things, innovation, surprising. That's also the reason why people love us, and some people don't like us, not to say hate us. And that's fine. I just want to be hated for the good reasons.
Yeah, okay, so now that you've brought up this subject matter, it's a really good one. In fact, I would say it's the elephant in the room, so to speak. Roman, why do you think that Hublot as a brand has received so much social media hate? What was the rationale for this?
Well, having been exposed to social media, let me tell you something. If you guys ever get a chance to go on Reddit and read about me, did you guys know I was the head of a Russian mafia? Anybody tell you that? Yeah, apparently I am. I didn't know this, but
Fantastic.
apparently I'm a mob boss.
Very practical.
Social media gives an opportunity for an individual to say something negative, to be a lot more braver without recourse. When you're behind a keyboard and you make a comment, people don't know who you are on your end, where you are, etc. It gives you a lot more bravery. As they say, it's all fun and games till you get punched in the nose. In a real life scenario, some of the stuff that has been said to me on social media, nobody would dare to say that to my face. But it's much easier to do it on social media. And what happens, there's this thing on social media called trends. When we first originated our show on YouTube, which was a behind the scenes of a life of a watch dealer, now there's 50,000 of those shows on YouTube. It's a trend, right?
Mazal.
I was the first one. I was the first one to flip a coin on a deal in one of my videos. Now half of 47th Street is flipping coins, right? So what happens is that it becomes cool and trendy to repeat what popular things are. It's like posting a popular watch on your Instagram page if you're a watch influencer. The more popular the watch, the more clicks you're going to get. And one of the things that people have to realize is that the ultimate goal of someone who is on social media is what? It's eyes, it's clicks. And nothing gets more clicks than controversy. And when you get a slightly overweight short guy somewhere, we're not going to mention any names, that starts a little bit of a trend and everybody wants to follow suit like an asshole, pardon my French. This is what happens. But the reality of the situation is every single person that has heard me talk positively about the brand over the years, as I have been online, they make the hateful comment, is not the buyer of that watch. In fact, that's not a buyer of any watch. One of the things that we do when you're heavy into social media and you're across different platforms is this thing called analytics. We actually know who's watching our stuff. We actually know who's commenting. The average age of a Hublot hater is about 12 and a half. So, again, it's cool. And again, all publicity is good publicity. That means Hublot name is out there. But sometimes it gets, as I said in my video, and mind you, this is a short version. There was going to be a 15-minute version where I go deeply into what I was saying here. This was just a bit of an intro. But there's nothing behind it. There's no substance behind it. And unfortunately, so-called watch experts out there wouldn't even be able to explain how the UNICO chronograph works. In fact, 22 years I've been in this industry, I still don't consider myself a watch expert. That guy's a super geek and a watch expert. He can explain it down to the very last pinion, right? But these self-proclaimed watch experts get out there, they start a trend, they can't go back. They can't back off of it. They say something, it goes viral, now all of a sudden, oh, I actually really do like the watch, but I can't really go back to saying that I like it because I said that. So to me, it's about trends, it's about social media. Social media can be vicious. Yes, it's very useful in our industry, but it can also be vicious at times. And there is this one tiny thing called trends. And to add to what you were saying earlier, a lot of the innovation that Hublot has done in the last 20 years, ceramic, crystal, certain colored ceramics, those things also tend to get lost because everybody else in the industry follows suit. You set that trend, and then you don't know where the trend started or where it ended, which is why I feel like a symposium like this, highlighting what you guys have started, what you guys have done, will make people think, oh, well, Hublot did that. And when you get into talking about the movement, that's next level.
So Julian, I think this brings up a really interesting question as well. Was as soon as you joined Hublot as its new CEO, you said, you know what, I want to address this because I want to actually engage in conversation and understand why it is that people have this hate, because I think a lot of it's coming from misunderstanding. Tell me why that was important to you and how you hope to create an open dialogue and even overcome the social media hate.
Because again, I think simply the brand deserves it. I mean, again, when I visited the manufacturer the first time, I was actually so positively surprised to see the level of expertise, the level of know-how, the quality of watchmaking that we have. And my colleague here from headquarters will talk about this quality and this movement expertise. That I wanted people to realize that. I couldn't hear that Hublot is about fashion, creating trends, bringing new materials, hiring top celebrities. Yes, it's true, they've been the best, and I say they because I wasn't there again. They've been the best at doing that. That's true. That's done. But manufacture-wise, movement-wise, and it's only the beginning, because as we said, 45 years old, if you quantify the expertise, the watchmaking expertise accumulated by the brand, compared to its age, and you compare it with other brands, that now you would not even think had not a single in-house movement 20 years ago, and they are 100 years old. But that was normal back in the days. So Hublot actually did a great job developing that. And I want people to know because it's well deserved. So I'm going to continue to be creative, innovative, and surprise you with design, material, and new things, obviously, because this is our DNA, our mission. I will continue to be disruptive and also innovative in the marketing approach that we will put in the brand. But I will put watchmaking in the center because at the end of the day, we are making great watches.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, if I may ask you to take a seat in these beautiful overstuffed Hublot chairs. And we're now going to progress to the extremely nerdy part of the symposium. Let me get my clicker out. I apologize in advance if you guys find this really boring.
This is the watch expert.
No, not at all. So why the Hublot hate? I tend to believe that hate comes from not being able to understand something correctly. So now we're going to make a presentation, myself and Samuel, who's the production director. And then afterwards, if you still decide that you want to hate Hublot, at least you're coming from a perspective of understanding, I would like to think.
You can tell me live or online, huh? Up to you.
So what is a chronograph? It is, well, it's a stopwatch on your wrist, but it's also a parasitical device. So I came up with this little image of the host shark and these little remora fish, right? But we're going to have maybe an audience participation dimension of this as well, which will help to illustrate it a little bit better. So, oh my God, look at that. This is terrible. This is like this super nerdy like image of a movement. But anyway, this is a Lemania 2310. Underneath this is the seconds wheel that shows you the seconds. Then through a pinion, you're attached to another seconds wheel. Then you have the clutch wheel. The clutch wheel engages with the chronograph seconds wheel. Then you've got an intermediate wheel. And then you have the minute counter. And fighting against the minute counter is the spring jumper. I apologize for how nerdy this is. Actually, maybe we could do an audience participation thing to actually show you guys how this works. I'm going to need 6 volunteers. You know what? I'm just going to pick 6 people. Sir, could you please stand here? And can I have 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Actually, gentlemen, if you could all come to the stage, please. So you're going to be the barrel. You're going to stand here, right? If you could just come, please. So you're going to stand here. This is the barrel. This is the gas tank of the watch. The mainspring is wound out inside of here. We're the next largest guy. I'm going to need you to stand here, please. This is the center wheel, or the second wheel. Please come here. This is the third wheel, right? And this is super important. You have a super important job, sir. You're the fourth wheel. So the barrel is the gas tank of the watch. Barrel sometimes makes a full rotation in about 8 hours, 12 hours. But over here, you have a wheel, the fourth wheel, the seconds wheel, that's making 1 rotation every minute, right? I actually need 2 more people, so if you guys could come as well, please. George, come on. All right. So then I need an escape wheel. 1 rotation every second. You don't actually have to revolve at that speed. And then I need a balance, right? So the seconds wheel is powering the escape wheel, which is sending energy to the balance that's oscillating back and forth. Now, you understand how this a watch movement works, right? Now, how does a chronograph work? I'm going to need 4 more people. You 2 are here. Come on. And let's see. Tracy and Sarah Flynn, please come on to the stage. Okay, so I'm going to put Fred in this vital position where he's connected to the seconds wheel. So the second, you got to stand in front of him. So this is a seconds wheel. Between them is a pinion, and now he's also a seconds wheel. Then we have a clutch wheel. The clutch wheel is a very important role as well. Yeah, you're the clutch wheel. And then, Tracy, you're the all-important chronograph seconds wheel, right? Right here. And then, Sarah Flynn, you're right here. You're the spring jumper. Okay? So what's happening now is that the seconds wheel is turning, and it's powering this wheel. And this wheel is powering this wheel, and when you press the chronograph, you don't have to engage. It's engaging with the chronograph seconds, right? And that's causing that to turn, and when you disengage, it stops, right? And then, actually we need one more. We have the minute counter, right? Because it doesn't work if it just gives you the seconds, and this is a seconds hand you can stop or start. And against the minute counter is a spring jumper. The spring jumper is like the party sheriff. It just wants you to stop. It's creating pressure against you. So if you can imagine, power has to travel all the way down here, through here, up to here, to engage the chronograph seconds, which drives the minute counter, and the spring jumper is trying to stop it from moving forward. That's a really long chain of power. It's terrible. But what if you could power the minute using the barrel directly? Wouldn't that make more sense? Audience, thank you very much. You may sit down. I'm now going to invite Samuel Morel, the production director, to join me. Okay, I want you to meet a couple of people. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your participation. This is Christoph Linner. He is the gentleman that designed the Hublot UNICO. Very serious-looking guy, comes from a small brand called Rolex, and his previous job was to work on a caliber called the 4130, which is a Rolex in-house chronograph movement. This is Samuel Morel.
Hello, everyone.
He used to work at a small and obscure brand called Patek Philippe, and is now at Hublot working as a production director. How are you, sir?
For 15 years now.
For 15 years?
Yes.
Fantastic, well done. So why is the Hublot UNICO so technically badass? Samuel, you ready? We're going to get into this?
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it.
This is incidentally, if you were to reach into his wallet, it would read bad motherfucker. That's how badass Samuel is. Okay, here are 5 patents. We're not going to get into everything, right? But anyway,
We don't want to get too geeky, right?
Yeah, we don't want to get too geeky. So here's the 5 patents: 2 oscillating clutches, anti-trembling mechanism. But we're going to just talk about a couple of things that we really love. So I talked about driving the minute counter directly off the barrel. So that's the barrel, and it's driving the minute counter directly. You don't have to go through that entire chain. And then here we have the clutch for the seconds. So Samuel, how did you guys come up with this idea of driving the minute counter directly off the barrel, and what are the advantages?
Well, as you just said before, it's very straight across. So I think definitely there was a huge advantage working straight from the barrel. The full power comes from the barrel. You were talking about it just before. The barrel here rotates. It's a full rotation every 8 hours. And of course, the minute counter here rotates. So the minute counter hand is just here on the top of the pivot, and it rotates 1 full time every minute. So you get an 8-time ratio between both of them. And of course, we had to have a full gear train here to make sure that we have the perfect ratio between the 8 times rotation, the full rotation every 8 hours of the barrel. So it's moving 8 times much faster here for the minute counter. So then we have to have the perfect gear ratio between these two, and it was a huge advantage going straight across from the barrel to the minute counter.
So you don't have an underlying loss of amplitude every time you turn the chronograph on, or every time the minute counter has to advance. And at the same time here, you have the clutch for the seconds, and it's got some very funky looking teeth, which we're going to get into a little bit later. So who else has a double clutch mechanism? Well, Hublot UNICO has it. And then actually, we see a lot of comparisons, sometimes a discussion about Richard Mille. Sarah's taking notes because she works at a company that represents Richard Mille, right? But the 7201 has an in-house chronograph movement that actually has a double clutch mechanism as well, which means the seconds are being driven off of the seconds, and the minutes and the hours are being driven off of the barrel.
How long did it take them to get there?
How long did it take Richard Mille to get there? They got there afterwards, right? So now let's talk about Liga. So actually, Samuel, what is Liga?
Liga is a metal growing technology. So it's a very specific material. It's made out of nickel phosphorus. It helps us to obtain these kind of geometries. You know, this kind of geometry that you see here, the teeth that you see here, would be nearly impossible to produce if we had to machine them. So this technology really helps us to grow the material, by an electrochemical process that is very precise. There are only a few companies in Switzerland that have the know-how, and we have used that for the wheels that we just saw before.
You were a very early adopter of it, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So we see here the caliber 4130, which Christoph Lehner worked on, and this is the seconds wheel as well. It's got a very unique form to it that's spring-loaded. And here we have on the Patek caliber 26, this is the indirect seconds wheel. Now, what's interesting about the indirect seconds is because there's spring tension on the teeth, you don't need a spring jumper or a tension plate, right? Because otherwise the hand would tremble. The spring loading of the teeth actually applies the correct tension, so you don't need these items. Here are the Liga teeth of the Hublot UNICO. Tell us, but the shape is really interesting, Samuel. What's going on here?
So yeah, we really, let's say, pushed it to the far end, because you can see that the teeth here are really like very elastic. So when we press on the pusher for the chronograph and we engage, here is the against the chronograph second hand, second wheel. Of course, all these teeth will really be pushed inside the teeth, and they will make sure that we have full contact at all time. And it's really having this special geometry that really helps us to do that.
So this eliminates something known as chronograph backlash. And what is that? Like in a little lateral clutch, when you have teeth-to-teeth contact, the seconds hand jumps back or jumps forward because it's imprecise. By having Liga teeth, and this is very interesting as well, because this is the chronograph seconds, it's going clockwise. This is going counterclockwise, and you can see the engagement of the teeth come at it from an angle, which is super interesting. But that's not all, because it doesn't come at it laterally, it oscillates down into it. And this is another watch with an oscillating clutch. This is the Audemars Piguet lap timer, and you can see the clutch just here. And you can see there are 3 different types of clutches. There is a vertical clutch, falls on top, it uses friction. There's a lateral clutch, tooth-to-tooth engagement, and there's an oscillating clutch that comes in from an angle, right? So you have flexible teeth, and you're coming in from an angle. So we see APs using it. And the Hublot UNICO. So who has a Hublot UNICO on their wrist right now? Just take a look. This is actually what's happening on your watch. The column wheel is activating the chronograph, and these teeth are engaging with the chronograph seconds hand. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, actually. So here we have, so this is the clutch. You see this little delta bridge here in this wheel, and you've got the same thing here. It's actually easier to see in the UNICO because it's facing you, correct?
Exactly.
And then you've got the column wheel.
Column wheel also facing, yeah.
Oh, it's also a flyback chronograph.
Exactly.
Tell me why that's important, Samuel.
So does anybody know what the flyback chronograph function is about? Anybody know? No. Restart, yeah. Restart, but in a specific way. Flyback function was brought out when for aviation and military purposes, because what we do here is that once you press on the 0 pusher, the chronograph goes back to 0, and when you let go of the pusher, it starts all over again. So you don't have to press on the stop button and then press again on the 0 button and then have to press on the start button again. Here, with only one let's say trigger, you push the chronograph back to 0 and it's functioning all over again. So this is something very special, very difficult to do. Let's say any standard chronograph do not have the flyback, of course, function.
And here are just kind of 1 or 2 nerdy things that we really like about it. So I'd mentioned before that the teeth of the wheel made of Liga eliminates the need of a spring jumper, but you still have an ability to tension the chronograph seconds just to fine-tune it. And the way that you do it is if you look at the back of the watch, in the center of the rotor, there's a screw. That screw goes through here, tensioning this helicoidal spring, which activates the staff, which is pressing against the ceramic ball bearing, and that's just touching the axis, the pinion, the base of the pinion of the chronograph seconds, just to give it enough pressure. I mean, that's nerdy, but very cool, you know?
It's very cool, and you're capable of course, of adjusting the friction at any time, even during after-sale service. The hand watchmaker just only takes out the bottom plate, and he can adjust at any time the friction from the chronograph.
So I grew up in the 80s, and I like 80s movies. I like a lot of yours, Fred. And one of my favorite movies is this movie called Some Kind of Wonderful, right? This is a movie that's interesting to me because the protagonist, who's played by Eris Stoltz, is in love with Leah Thompson, who plays like the cheerleader. And his best friend is Mary Stuart Masterson, who plays like the kind of punk rock drummer girl. But I've always couldn't understand why he couldn't realize that she was so much cooler and more attractive than the cheerleader, right? There's actually a clip here. Well, I guess we can watch it. Anyway, my point is, sometimes the greatest things in life are just in front of your eyes. I think that's true with the movie Some Kind of Wonderful, and I think it's kind of true with the Hublot UNICO as well. And why do people hate things? I guess they hate them because they don't understand them. Are there any questions? Oh, you guys said you want to see the movie?
Those are great movies.
No.
Those?
Yeah, those. Solid choice.
This is actually quite like touching because she's picking out earrings for another girl. It's
I
like
think we pretty
quite
much
a
covered
heartbreaking.
everything. All the arrangements have been made.
Yep,
You know what you're gonna say?
whatever comes to mind.
Uh-huh. You wanna plan it out a little?
That'll sound false. I want to be true to my instincts.
Don't think I'm being weird, but what if she wants you to kiss her?
Well, then I guess I'm just gonna have to kiss her.
Amanda Jones is no minor leaguer who'll be swept off her feet at the touch of your amateur lips.
Thanks.
This babe has plenty of battle scars.
I think I can handle it.
Great. Well, I just think maybe you should consider whether or not you feel you can deliver a kiss that kills.
What, you think I can?
If you say you can, you probably can.
Well, no, I'm no expert.
It's cool. I was just gonna work on it with you, but if you're comfortable, great.
Wait. How do you work on it?
Pretend I'm a girl, okay? I mean, pretend I'm her, Amanda. I know it's a big stretch, but try it. Come here. I didn't mean to scare you. All right. What do you do with your hands?
Well, it depends.
No, it doesn't depend. They go on her hips.
Okay.
Do it. Look into my eyes. Come on, I don't have to do this.
I
you
know, I'm sorry.
Just grow up a little. She'll probably do this.
How do you know?
I watch a lot of TV. Close your eyes.
What?
Lesson's over. You're cool.
You're blushing.
Yeah, right. The day I blush.
No, that was very nice. You're pretty.
This is how you repay a favor. I don't know if I'm rich enough to be your friend.
No, wait. I didn't mean anything. I'm sorry. Don't be mad, okay? I'll see you tonight.
Sometimes the best thing in life is just in front of your eyes. Like the Hublot UNICO. If I can invite Julian and Roman back, and we can begin the Q&A session. Do I have any questions from the floor? Sir.
What's the next big innovation? Tell us your secret.
I won't. Just a hint. No, I'll give you a few hints. I have to check. My staff is looking at me there. What is he going to reveal?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. They're cool. You just go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead.
Give
Just
them
go
a
ahead.
drink.
Just
I
go
don't
ahead.
know.
It's fine.
No, we're going to have quite a few. 2026 will be a very, very important year for Hublot. Of course, this year we've been celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Big Bang, so full tribute to Mr. Biver, but the whole team who made this brand this watch, such iconic watch, maybe the first icon of the 21st century. We celebrated it, okay? Next year, we will come with some very important new developments in the Big Bang. We will make it evolve, like all key design. We often refer to the 911 in Porsche, but it's going to be a strong evolution in which the Unico will be put on stage, in which you will feel and see and touch the uniqueness of this movement that we've been discussing today. That's one thing. I got to meet Mr. Croco, the founder of the company. He's 74 years old, amazing person, because we often talk about Jean-Claude Biver, but Mr. Croco founded the brand in 1980, and as I said, he mixed a very cheap material back in the days, rubber, with gold, which was quite disruptive and innovative, if conservative 80s. And I think he wants to be involved in the brand a little bit, so I'm discussing with him to reconnect and maybe to think about what Hublot was at the beginning, and we could refer to the very fine Italian elegance, special touch of back in the day. So that could be something we will explore. And obviously, high watchmaking, collaboration that you don't expect. So we have a lot in the pipe. But I can tell you that 2026 will be a very rich year for Hublot.
If I could just add to that, I know we all like to look to the future, but I would like for you to concentrate on what happened this year. So I was at Watches and Wonders, and I've seen a lot of the new stuff. I could tell you my #1 pick from the show was the Hublot water. It is so difficult to photograph water, to paint water, to imitate water. When I looked at the crystal, the water crystal piece, I took a picture of it. I took a video of it. It doesn't really. You have to see it to believe it. So I know we like to look to the future. How about the current Daniel Arsham? I'm a little bit biased. I like Daniel Arsham, and anybody that's familiar with Daniel Arsham and his artwork, the very first thing I saw when I saw that piece, this is the first time I saw it in person. It's back there. You guys should check it out if you didn't. Is I saw the story that he told about when he was a poor artist and he had an office and he had no furniture and he found a piece of foam on the street. He carved it out with a hatchet, flipped it over, and made a desk. Now he has a furniture line. When I saw that watch, the #1 thing it did is invoke an emotion. And I think that if you continue to do what you've been doing in the last 20 years, continue invoking an emotion when somebody picks up your watch, hopefully mostly positive, I think it doesn't matter what you're going to do in 2026.
Any other questions from the floor, please?
Who do you see yourself collaborating? Oh, thank you. Who do you see yourself collaborating with within the next 5 years? Now that we have Arsham, and we had a Japanese person that we have collaborated with as a brand. Who do you see yourself with within the 5 years of collaborating with? Possibly.
Good question.
Yeah, no, it's a great one. As I said, Hublot is not only here to sell beautiful watches with great movements, as we just went through. We are about emotion. We are a very emotional brand, and we want people acquiring a Hublot being part of the Hublotista family, as we call our fans. And that means giving them something so special. And art, because you talk about artists, is an amazing field, because art, you feel something. Whether you love it, you don't like it so much, you hate it. When you look at an art piece, you definitely feel something strongly. So art is a great playground. And speaking about playground, and with Daniel last week, we discussed about that. And he told me, you know what? I love to work with Hublot, like many artists. Why? Because we have the humility and the respect to tell the artist, here is the playground. It's wide open. You can express yourself. That's why they love to collaborate with us, and that's why I can tell you that next year you're going to have another big collaboration with an incredible artist, because they love to join us because we let them do that. So that's definitely going to be. Music is important. Music is also such an amazing emotion driver. And obviously sport, we've been historically very much in sport. So you can expect us to play a lot in those fields, to be able to get our community, our friends, our fans, our clients to live incredible moments with the brand, because that's also why we're here. Yeah.
Any last questions from the floor? Venom, are you here?
And just one thing, talking about next year and talking about emotion, you may know, you may not know, but we are more than doubling the size of our manufacture in Nyon, in Geneva, nearby Geneva. And we're going to have an incredible facility that will open its doors in a year from now, and that will be obviously for watchmaking, for creativity, for innovation, but also probably the most incredible place for hospitality and welcoming our clients with incredible experiences. So I can't wait to welcome you in this new place.
Any last questions? Please stay in place. Venom. Oh, Tracy, you're back.
I'm back. So, as well as it being the Big Bang's 20th birthday this year, it's Revolution's. And I didn't have time to make you a cake. Couldn't afford to buy you a card.
I agree.
So, my friend James, who also performs under the name of Venom, has written something for you instead. So,
yes, can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. I would first like to thank Hublot and Revolution for this opportunity. As she stated, my name is James. My artist name is Venom, and I am a student of horology. I am deeply and immensely immersed in this community, which, in my opinion, is the best community in existence. I used to draw, so attention to detail is and will forever be a major part of who I am. In 2009, I opened a GQ magazine and I turned the page and I saw Hublot Big Bang UNICO, and my life changed forever. Because I'm an artist and because I'm so big on attention to detail, this was my first time seeing a timepiece. I had saw a watch before, but this was my first time seeing a timepiece. When I saw those little components and how they was finished, I didn't even understand what the finishing was, which I learned to discover was brushing, satin finish, and bevel d'anglage. It blew my mind. So for me, this is full circle. This was Hublot will forever. I don't care what nobody in the world say. In my mind, my vantage point, Hublot will forever be #1. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
I got some strong views. Imagine mechanical timepieces against technology, and we don't lose. No matter your preference, everyone is here to celebrate 20 years of horological excellence, and this is excellent. The year was 2005. It was all amusing. The goal was to unite. That's why they call it the art of fusion. It started out confusing and startled a couple views, but now they see the art of fusion has started a revolution. The mission is enchanting. Achieve greatness within an orthodox vision and a different understanding. This is advancing technology and enhancing. Since old ways went out of style, they've been expanding. They preview watches for you to see and view. It's beautiful because they both make products for me and you. Wasn't for everybody, started out seasonal, now it's for everybody. We done gone regional, just when they were hoping we would cliffhang. And we sure did. But as soon as we landed, they heard a big bang. Who is this man that's covering all of the big brands? Who was the brand that said, let's put rubber with this band? It was this brand, and it was this man. Two of the reasons that you look at your wrist and catch a chill, because it gotta be a vibe. This is the exact definition of what a time to be alive. Hovering above all the others, not to get too large. For Wei to be the ace, he had to shuffle a few cards. It's like every week he discovers a different nuance. 20 straight years of covering every new launch. Bravo. It's beautiful. Like the column wheel on the Unico. They both left their mark because they put their foot down like the weight of a sumo. Happy 20th anniversary to Wei Koh and Hublot.
Thank you, brother.
Venom, that was incredible. Samuel, Roman, Julien, thank you so much for joining us. Audience, thank you for joining us as well. We're going to be around, so if you want to chat with us, we would be very pleased. Thank you.
Thank you, Wei Koh. Remember who I said he was a watch expert? Did you guys catch that?
Sorry for geeking out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to all of you. Have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.